Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into Looking for Alaska by John Green, a book that is simultaneously heartwarming, heartbreaking, and apparently quite controversial. Yes, we're talking about a book that's been challenged, banned, and in some circles just plain misunderstood. But first, let's unpack why that's absolutely ridiculous. Looking for Alaska follows Miles Pudge Halter, who leaves his safe, boring life behind to attend a boarding school in search of the great perhaps. Along the way, he encounters Alaska Young, a girl who's brilliant, funny, unpredictable, and broken. It's a coming-of-age novel that tackles some heavy themes, but guess what? So does life. So why is Looking for Alaska constantly on the chopping block for bans? Critics claim it's because of sexual content, alcohol use, and profanity. Oh, the horror. Teenagers dealing with teenage things. Honestly, you'd think these challenges are coming from people who believe high school is filled with rainbows, unicorns, and zero emotional turmoil. Spoiler alert, it's not. Let's address the elephant in the room, the infamous scene that gets this book challenged so often. Some say it's sexually explicit. What they fail to realize is that this scene isn't erotic or romantic. It's awkward, uncomfortable, and it actually highlights the emotional confusion teens face. If you're banning this book because of one uncomfortable moment, you're missing the entire point of the story. Yes, the book includes scenes of drinking, smoking, and some less than pristine language. But let's be real, teens are dealing with these exact issues every day. If anything, Looking for Alaska opens up necessary conversations, rather than pretending these topics don't exist. John Green doesn't glorify these actions. He portrays them honestly, showing the emotional consequences that follow. To those calling for the ban, by shielding young readers from these experiences, are you really protecting them? Or are you just letting them face these issues alone, without the guidance that books like Looking for Alaska offer? Food for thought. I go to seek a great perhaps. This quote embodies Miles's journey, his search for meaning, for something greater than the life he left behind. Isn't that what adolescence is all about? The search for identity, for purpose? Teens reading this book are not just watching characters navigate confusion and pain. They're learning that it's okay to have questions, and that not everything in life can be neatly packaged or solved by the end of the chapter. Yes, Looking for Alaska dives into heavy themes: death, grief, and personal responsibility. But do we really believe that teens are too fragile to handle these topics? Spoiler. They're already thinking about these things. Books like this help them process these realities in a healthy, constructive way, with empathy and nuance. And if we're honest, this kind of literature might even save lives by giving kids the words they need to understand their own experiences. Which brings me to my next point. Green's writing has helped countless readers process their own emotions. His work resonates because it doesn't shy away from the ugly parts of life, and it gives young people, who are so often underestimated, permission to feel deeply. We need never be hopeless because we can never be irreparably broken. This line is everything. Life is messy, but it's not hopeless. The characters in Looking for Alaska go through some pretty intense experiences, but they also learn that while suffering is inevitable, it's not the end. Green delivers this with such authenticity that it stays with you long after you finish the last page. So, what's my take? Looking for Alaska is not just a story about teenagers doing bad things. It's about teens trying to make sense of life's biggest questions. If you're banning this book because it makes you uncomfortable, maybe that's a sign it's asking the right questions. Instead of pulling it off the shelves, let's encourage readers to engage with it critically. In the end, Looking for Alaska does what great books should. It challenges us, makes us uncomfortable in all the right ways, and leaves us with a lot to think about. So, if you're in favor of banning Looking for Alaska, I've got news for you. Teens will still find a way to read it, and they'll probably be better for it. Maybe, just maybe, the great perhaps isn't about banning books, but about reading them. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't picked up Looking for Alaska yet, what are you waiting for? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. What's your take on banning books? Until next time, keep reading and stay curious.